back to my channel. It's your friendly neighborhood e-girl without her glasses today, because whenever I was setting up, it didn't matter how I sat or anything, the glare on my glasses is atrocious and I'm just not gonna deal with it. So but here I am, I'm back with another video, hoping to get on more of a schedule, kind of trying to figure out where I want my channel to go and all that good stuff. And I was thinking to myself, you know, mental health plays a huge role in my life. It's a big reason why I kind of struggle with getting videos up. Sometimes a girl will be going through it. But I've been thinking about a way to incorporate mental health more into my channel, since it is such a important aspect of my life. And you know, it came to me, what about doing a mental health Mondays, where I talk about things mental health related, whether that's coping mechanisms, whether that's mental health in the workplace, mental health in relationships, my experience, etc. And it's a cute little alliteration, so I was like, okay, well, let's do it. And so I asked you guys, you know, what exactly you want to hear me talk about, and I've got a list going. And of course, if there's anything else you want to hear me talk about, you can just leave it in the comments and I will make sure that it gets added onto the list. Today, on this lovely Monday, I'm going to talk about something that I think needs to be addressed first and foremost before I go into anything else. And it's going to be a two-part little video. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is the fact that therapy is for everyone. A lot of times I see this notion that therapy is just for people who deal with mental illness. And while therapy does specifically help people who deal with mental illness, anyone and everyone can benefit from therapy. And so firstly, there are many different forms of therapy. There's CBT, there's DBT, there's hypnotherapy, there's EMDR, there's talk therapy, there's tattoo therapy, just tons and tons and tons of different types of therapy. And if you don't deal with a specific mental illness, sometimes just talk therapy can help you, because literally you talk through whatever is going on in your life, and then there are these therapists who are licensed to help you out. And so many times, you know, I leave my DMs open to those who need it. I don't do small talk all the time because I do get a lot of messages and it does get overwhelming. But if someone is genuinely struggling, I try my best to sit there and talk with them and try and figure out if I can help them, whether that's letting them vent and just listening, or letting them vent and giving advice. And if there's a particular problem that I think I'm not qualified to handle, or that their friends aren't qualified to handle, then I always suggest, you know, maybe you should talk to a counselor. And sometimes people will say, well, I don't deal with mental illness, so I don't really need a counselor. I just want to get rid of this notion that you have to be dealing with some mental illness to go to therapy. Therapy is beneficial for everyone, point blank, period. And in order to take away the stigma of mental health, normal people kind of, and I say normal, but normal neurotypical people need to kind of get into the habit of also utilizing these tools that help people, so that it becomes more normalized and less stigmatized. So, first point in this video, therapy is beneficial for everyone. Yes, it is specific to those who deal with mental illness, but generally speaking, anyone and everyone can benefit from it. Second point. My second point in this video is the fact that therapy is not one size fits all. And what I mean by that is you can't just go to a therapist and then bam, everything is fixed. It can take months and months and years of hard work to unlearn certain coping mechanisms, to process and deal with certain traumas, to get into a habit of making sure that you are using the tips and tricks that your therapists show you. Again, I leave my DMs open, and sometimes whenever I suggest seeing a counselor, people say, oh, well, I've seen one and it didn't help. And I don't want to invalidate your experiences and your feelings. I completely understand that, sometimes certain counselors, certain therapies, certain tricks, certain tips don't work. Everyone is different. Everyone's body reacts different to different stimuli and environments, and that's important to address. But you can't go to one or two therapists or try one or two types of therapy and then just cross out therapy as a whole. It took me 2 years, 5 different therapists before I found a therapist, a hypnotherapist that I liked, and a talk therapist that I liked. And yes, whenever you're going through these different therapists, you have to reopen old wounds, and you have to learn to trust this person again, and it can be tedious and it can be overwhelming. I know I got discouraged whenever I wasn't finding someone who could really help me with my issues, but whenever you finally do find a type of therapy or a therapist who helps you, it can be so relieving to finally have someone who has the same ideologies as you, has the same goals for you, and just genuinely wants to see you do better. I know whenever I found my hypnotherapist, once again, it took me 2 years to find someone who dealt with derealization/depersonalization disorder. It is a disorder that only affects about 2% of the population, so not much is known about it. I emailed tons and tons of therapists around my area, and they either hadn't dealt with the disorder or they were full. And the hypnotherapist I went to finally emailed me back, and when I got an email from him saying that he had dealt with people who had this disorder, and that he wasn't full, I legitimately cried tears of joy. I felt like a weight had been lifted off of my shoulders, and that I had been, that my prayers had been answered in a sense. The downfall is he was an hour away, so that was an hour there, an hour back, and an hour in session. So sometimes you may have to travel far distances to see a counselor that can help you. But the point I'm trying to make is that you have to give therapy a fair shot. You can't just go to 1 or 2 talk therapists and then cross out therapy as a whole, because again, there are tons of different therapies I listed, even more than the ones I listed earlier. There are unconventional type of therapies. And like I said, if you want to get better, you have to kind of make the sacrifice to do what you need to do. You have to be an active part in healing and processing trauma. It's not something you can passively do. I mean, it's just not, that's not how it works in the slightest. So give therapy a fair shot before writing it off. Understand that it can take a few therapists until you find the one that's good for you. It's the same with medicine. Not one type of medicine works for all people. Humans are wired differently. Like I said, we respond to different environments and stimuli, and it's important to understand that and to realize that that applies to just about everything in our lives. So the point of this video today is to just help people realize that yes, therapy is for everyone, but also give it a fair shot before you try and write it off. And again, I don't want to invalidate anyone's experiences or anyone's feelings. Rather, I just want to challenge people to, instead of thinking that because therapy doesn't work in 2 months, it just doesn't work for you. Because again, when you're healing from traumas and processing different things, it can take a while. Unfortunately, in movies, we often see people go through a hard time and then they heal, but there's background music and it's beautiful and it's romantic and it's quick, and then they're okay. And that's just not how it works in real life. I mean, in real life, we don't get the background music and we don't get to fast forward through it. We have to feel every single one of those emotions. It gets nasty, it gets ugly. I often say that healing was worse than the trauma for me, and I don't know if that's just because I don't remember it and I'm having to feel all of this. But Olivia Benson from Law & Order, in one episode that I was watching, and it stuck with me through all these years, she said, if you can get through the trauma, then you can get through the healing. And so it's just as she said, if you can get through the trauma. Then the healing is going to be a cakewalk. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. If you did, I hope that it was a good video, that I wasn't rambling too much, and that you got the overall message. Again, please subscribe and like and comment and share and all that great stuff. I'm going to try and upload every Monday something different about mental health related issues. And I might even throw in a Women of Color Wednesday and see how that goes. If I can swing it, you know, mental health does get in the way. But again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye-bye.